Amazing. So, welcome to the um, NeuroCreative Leadership Live Pop-Up Summit 2026. That was an idea that turned into a um, an avalanche of action and to get this going. And it's all about testing it out at the same time. So, what you're kind of seeing here is a market research version of a summit. I'm testing out the questions to find out what neurocreative leadership is from other amazing experts, all handpicked for their complete dedication and passion and purpose in the world for helping others, heart-centered leadership in various different expertise and ways. So it's really fascinating to see the different topics and of the pillars that I've seen in neurocreative leadership, throwing one or two out into the ether with and seeing what comes back with these wonderful experts, and at the same time yeah, finding out all of this stuff and also allowing the cross promotion of each other's businesses all at the same time because there's no competition, there's only resonance, and we get to work together. And there's nothing better than a summit and or whatever you want to call it. If you're learning to speak your story or whatever it is, and there's nothing better than just getting on a call with someone else and chatting through it and having a go, and or getting to that point where our stories and our things matter and they only resonate with certain people. And so I could have this same I help statement as Angela here, and it would come across differently, and there'll be so many other expertise moments in the story, the how it's being, if it's being taught or whether it's being coached or whether it's being mentored, or however that help comes, it's all so different. So yeah, thanks for being here, Angela. um and we're going to talk about this um idea of forgiftance in action, and cultivating growth in with kindness, cultivating growth with kindness in neurocreative leadership.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of words there, a lot of words. Um, what does it actually mean? But first of all, I've got a question for you, just to let's warm into this with um, if there was a favorite topic that you have for yourself that's in life and work that that is the glue that drives you through both life and work, that makes you who you are and what you do, what would that be?
It would be compassion, Rory. I think compassion, yeah, because it underpins everything I think that's important in this world. And that's whether you meet an old lady that's walking down the road or somebody in a supermarket that needs your help, or whether it's a business owner that's struggling to get their message out. The compassion that you have for that person and for what they're trying to do in that moment means that you've got the power to help them. you know, you've got the power to step in. And even if the only help you can give is an encouraging word, it can change somebody's whole day or sometimes somebody's whole life. So yeah, that would be the word.
I love that. That's amazing, and that's really in alignment with what we're talking about here as well. So thanks for sharing. It's amazing to remember that one small intention become so big. And yeah, I appreciate that. And how does that lead into what you do as well?
Well, I think because the reason I do what I do was because of the situation I found myself in when I first started setting up an online business, because I'd run successful businesses face to face. But when COVID happened and everything closed, it was like, what do I do now? I can't just like do nothing. So I needed to pivot. And having not run an online business before, I thought, well, I need help. So I looked for help. And I was uh, tricked into signing up for a couple of, hugely expensive things. All our savings went in on it, everything that we had in order to get this business up and running, only to find that they really only wanted my money. They didn't really want to understand me or get behind my heart and find out why was I doing what I was doing and who did I want to do it for. And they just wanted to give me like videos to watch and things, which because of my own neurodivergency, I don't cope with those things. I can't follow a system where I sit down on my own and go through videos and tick boxes and all of these things. I need someone alongside me, and I need to know why I'm doing things. And I learn in a very different way from how you learn at school. And so that kind of teaching just wasn't doing. So I basically dropped through the cracks. And the biggest learning was that nobody came to find me. Nobody cared. Nobody was even interested. And when I kind of, well, again, I had the choice of, well, do I just stop? But then we'd lost all this money. And then I started talking to people and realizing I wasn't alone, that so many stories were coming back to me because I went out there and shared my story. I discovered how many other people, and that just broke my heart because I just thought that's awful to think of how many people are out there with wonderful ideas, such a heart and a passion to help other people, and yet they're left in a place where they think they have to give up. So that started my business was right. Okay, well, I'll do that. Literally, I'll do that, which was completely different from what I was originally doing. And then it kind of just spiraled from there, really. So, um, first of all, it was built on a heart to serve and to help other people who lead by their heart and not by their head. And that's a big distinction for me. For me, the head-led entrepreneur is someone who sees a gap in the market and they go in and they say, right, I'm going to serve that gap in the market, and they earn money through doing that. But the heart-led entrepreneur sees the gap in somebody's life and they want to bring healing and wholeness to that person. And that doesn't matter whether it's a business type thing like I do or something to do with self-healing, or it can be anything. But the most important thing for them is it's the gap in that person's life, and the desire to go there and help, um, help them succeed, really.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you. And it certainly caught my attention when you were talking about that so much that I immediately, as soon as I could, came along as well to learn. I learned a lot from you in that time as well. It was amazing. Thank you, Angela, for what you do and noticing that. And um, oh, the word tailored comes to mind as well. This sense of that it's this is there's frameworks which can be strategies for a particular process that is logical, like you said, head based and step by step. And then there's what I would call when I do these pillars. These pillars are like crossing over, but more just how do I apply that to my situational life? And so yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because it's there's this like principles, philosophies that can be used to with these approaches rather than watch the videos and go away and come back,
Yeah,
hopefully. But yeah, and
yeah.
but yeah, so the when you mention about neurodivergence or whatever you want to call it, there I like unique wiring when we're talking on raising awareness about these things, neutral ground to just go, hey, you've got your challenges and your strengths um and your focuses and what works for you and what doesn't. And within that whole idea of where you are in your life with knowing you and how you work, what's your favorite self-care thing that you go to every single day that helps you move through?
So it's quite easy in the sense I was doing it before I even realized. So diagnosed with ADHD, which for the first thing, although labels aren't necessarily helpful, but for me, it really helped me to understand why I'd been living my life in the way that I had. And even more importantly, to be honest, it's helped my husband to understand why he's married to a lady who lives her life in the way that she does. And one of the things is this inability to switch off. So my brain just fires the whole time. So I was finding it hugely difficult to go to sleep at night. And therefore, constantly, awake or like, doing stuff on the computer. He'd find me in the bathroom 2 o'clock in the morning with my computer open and stuff. Until I realized that the way to switch my brain off is to make sure that it is focused somewhere else. It is utterly different from what I do during the day. And I've always loved historical mysteries, historical novels, because I love history and I love puzzles. So, but discovering how Audible basically, and using that to switch my brain somewhat to another place. It's quite specific. I have a story on the go. I use it with an earphone. I have to have it at the right level of volume. If it's too loud, it wakes me up. If it's too quiet, I'm struggling to hear it, and that keeps me awake. And then I have to time it to go off after 60 minutes. Because if I only leave it for half an hour, my brain says, "Oh, well, you can listen to the end of that. It's only half an hour. That's okay." So it listens to the end of it. But if I leave it for 60 minutes, my brain begins to switch off. It changes into that world. It becomes part of that world and it goes to sleep. And so very rarely am I unable now to get myself to sleep. It's been magic. And my husband didn't even realize I was doing it for about 7 years. It's only quite recently that he realized that I go to sleep listening. So I was glad because that meant I wasn't disturbing him. But it's a brilliant way to switch your mind off and allow it to rest and recuperate.
Love it. That's great to hear. Nice one. Um, so the next question is around, I'm going to say five different powers that we have as innate powers as we have as humans, and one of they're all ones that we can't necessarily be in judgment of self or others, but our attention is engulfed by these different powers as a in its own a flow state in its own right, a kind of focus that can't happen in, which gives us those powers to not get caught up in stress or shame. So I'll say them and see which one lands for you, and uh, that's most current in your life that's helping you again move forwards, rather than like necessarily a comfort one, but more of a growth one.
Mhm.
So notice that as I share, see what comes up for you.
Okay.
Um, empathy, curiosity, creativity, navigation, and activation.
Do you know what's really interesting is I get a physical sensation, all of those words. The one that jumps out the highest for me personally is creativity. And that's been part of my life. Um, it was only squashed when a teacher told me that I had no imagination when I was about 11. And those years of living in that world of being told that I had no imagination is the worst period of my sort of education, basically. And when I recaptured what was truly who I am, that's what, that is, it's kind of like with me the whole time. But I was really curious because empathy and curiosity both have a resonance with me. There's something in me that says, yes, that's definitely part of my life, definitely part of my life. But the navigation and the activation, is like an almost shut down kind of thing. It was like, um, those are things I have to really work at.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah. And it's important to know where those dips are so we can work at them with compassion as well. So thanks for sharing. And that's a great leads into this idea of neurocreative leadership being our nervous systems are uniquely wired and how we either create or lead and or both in the world. So this sense of creativity being open and curious and maybe difficult to grasp until it becomes something defined. And then when it becomes defined, we can then we can lead with it or we can put it to action, structure it and make it happen. And so as you hear that sort of balance of creativity on one side being more flow and open and then closed and directed leadership, what just as concepts, what do you see in that for you as a creative leader?
I think one of the most exciting things for me is seeing what I can create through understanding somebody's heart and their mission. So for me, um, it's like I sometimes think I feel like I'm farming. So I'm talking to somebody who needs my help, and it's creatively asking questions to understand exactly what's going on inside of that person. You know, why are they doing what they do? What are their fundamental beliefs and values and their purpose in life? The mission that they've got. How do they want to touch people, to reach people? It's all the things that, to a certain extent, most business coaches will give somebody a form to fill in, answer these questions. And they're very the same question to everybody. But creativity in a leader enables you to ask a different question that that person needs, to rephrase it in a different way that unlocks the thing that's in them that you can enable them to shine. And then to take those things that they're giving them and to really cherish them and nurture them and use them almost like a color palette to paint their forward journey as a business owner, in all the shades and the colors and the hues that mean that the world sees them as they truly are, not as they want them to be or not as they think they should be, but as they truly are. And what you've said before about the resonance, it means that if you've painted that person in those hues that actually describe them, then the person who they're supposed to work with, the people who are out there that need their help, it's like an automatic drawing towards them because something goes off in their brain that feels safe with the person, that feels drawn to. It's like an intimacy there because they recognize the right words, the right feelings, the right emotions. And that's where, for me, the creative, uh, that's like, it goes right from top to bottom, everything inside of me. So it gives me a lot of joy. And I think for any business owner, no matter who you are, if you can find joy and um, satisfaction, celebration in what you do, then actually that's the ultimate goal. That's where it should be. It's not about the figures because I could have, there's jobs I've done in the past. There's jobs I could have done if I'd applied for them. Um, and I'm capable of doing them, but I would have come home every night thinking, gosh, can't wait till the end of the week. There's nothing worse than being in a job that you can't wait to get to Friday. I've met enough people in those kind of jobs. It's just awful. So whoever you are, whatever your background is, finding a job that gives you joy every minute that you do it, you know, that's worth celebrating. That's where it should be.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And what I heard there as well, what resonated again really well is the sense of I noticed that you were talking about understanding a person as if they were a work of art rather than like figures and datas and that's really cool just to even imagine and even thinking about like what could there be some kind of marketing tool that helps someone to figure out resonance through who the person is they're wanting to serve through them being uh, described more creatively and resonantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, great. Um, so as you shared, and there's compassion and um and then this sense of people being like works of art that get to paint themselves better or however they want to be. Um, and recognizing that in them. There's this there's the idea of forgiftance for what I notice about it is this sense of it's difficult to know how to forgive the self or others if we're not shown how to, or we haven't felt it ourselves in the first place. Um, because it is it's an emotion it's an emotional process to go through, which involves either feelings or some kind of imaginative process.
Mm.
Then it's not all just data. I can't just write down I forgive and it not mean something. Uh, Also, there are processes of writing out affirmations until the brain rewires and starts to become familiar with the idea. That's another process that's longer, but most of the time that's not necessarily um, taught. You know, it's not a life. It's I think it's forgiftance is a neurocreative leadership life skill that could be taught and what if it's like pointing a laser beam at someone to know that being specific rather than trying to know what forgiveness is in general and trying to apply
Mm.
it. Hey, just try and forgive. It feels so sticky. And
Mm.
so, or the self, sitting down to just go, "Oh, yeah, I really forgive myself for that thing that I did." Or um, whereas directing a laser or a torch beam of light that is about compassion and sending it to myself somewhere on my body or somewhere else and seeing a gift in that. So, and that gift being that what happens with a gift is the person gets from giving and the person um, gives thanks for getting. So they both there's giving and receiving from the giver perspective and giving and receiving from the receiver's perspective in a lot of ways when that happens when it obviously unless it's like I don't want the gift thank you
Yes, yes,
but yeah when it's being accepted then it's a two-way process and it's unconditionally happening in on both sides rather than it being yeah we need transactions to get through life to make agreements but and it lights up my brain thinking about forgiftance in this way because there's just so many things like transactional, which is what is happening in a gift, but it's also how can that be knowing that it's unconditional. So if I'm giving, I'm receiving, or if I'm giving the forgiveness out, that it's a gift to myself at the same time, and vice
yes.
versa as well. So what's coming up for you around all of this?
Well, I mean, I love this topic. I mean, there's a couple of things. One of which was really simple, and it was something that occurred to me not that long ago, really. You know, the old saying is, "It is in giving that we receive." You know, that's
Oh,
played through down. It is
your sound went a bit weird just then. Can you start say that
okay.
again?
So quite often people know the saying, "It is in giving that we receive." That's a very old saying that's used for children and so on. But when I turned it round and realised it is in receiving that we give, there's an open door there because as we accept something from somebody, they have the ability to give and to feel good about giving. And even somebody who's lacks in self-confidence and finds it a struggle to receive, if they can just understand that they're giving a gift by receiving that thing from that person, it's a real eye opener when you realize that and allows you to receive from people you maybe wouldn't have received from at a time, at certain times. And forgiveness, the idea of putting the word gift in there, that it fits really well with something that happened to me some years back now, but I was really badly bullied at school, very badly. And for years, that was such a downer on my self-confidence because it was that doubt in myself that I wasn't lovable. I wasn't somebody that was worth being a friend of, and that sort of thing as you grow up. And it wasn't until I was about, I don't know, I was in my 20s anyway, late 20s probably. And partly to do with my own faith, and also to do with the fact of suddenly understanding what forgiveness was, because most people link forgiveness and blame together. Um, Somebody's done something, somebody's hurt them, they've hurt themselves. The difficulty of forgiving that person or themselves is because the message is, if I forgive them, I'm saying it's okay. And it's like, I can't forgive them because that would say that what they did was okay. And that's not true. So forgiveness has nothing to do with saying that the action that that person took or the thing that you did to yourself was okay. The truth is, it wasn't okay. It wasn't okay. The damage those girls did to me was not okay. And it should have been dealt with, and it wasn't. Of course, I didn't tell my parents about it, so they would have done something about it if I had told them. But those girls have gone off in life. I have no idea where they are. I'm never going to meet them. I'm never going to be able to say to them, I forgive you. But it was really important to me personally that I forgave them. Because whilst I was refusing to forgive them, it was like I was hooked to a sort of bungee rope behind me. I would be able to move forward, getting a bit more self-confident in in my own life and liking myself a bit better and that sort of thing. But something would happen where I felt um, like looked down on or dismissed or condescended to, and immediately that bungee rope would pull me back, and I'd go back, so many steps because I'd never let go of that. And it wasn't until I could forgive those girls, it was literally physically like unhooking myself. And a couple of things happened when I was in the police. Similarly, I had to unhook myself by forgiving them, realizing that forgiveness was giving me a gift. It was giving me a gift because it was unlocking the pain that they'd caused. And that pain was doing more damage to me than the thing did at the time. And those girls, I don't know whether they ever looked back, but it doesn't matter. That they are responsible for their lives. I am not responsible for their lives. If I could help them, I would, but I'm not responsible for that. But I am responsible for learning how to love myself. And by forgiving them and letting myself be unhooked, I started to become um, to fall in love with myself, which some people find a really odd phrase to say. But the truth is, if we don't love ourselves, we have no idea how to love other people. And so one way or another, we have to learn to accept who we are. We're that work of art. We are created. There's a magic about us. There's something unique about us. There's no two people are the same. And our journeys through life have got the ability to make us into powerful people, to make us into leaders, to make us into friends, to make us into partners, and to give us joy in our lives. But only if we truly take hold of who we are and begin to acknowledge it and nurture it and be gentle to the painful bits, to the bits that are hurting, the prickly bits. Then we need to be empathetic towards them. We need to have compassion towards them. We need to have kindness towards them because if we don't, we'll never allow anybody else to. And once we've accepted those things, then we can start working on them and we can start relaxing. We can start kind of growing ourselves. We can go through personal growth journeys that take us into the place that we should be. It's like we can blossom, we can flower instead of being sort of held back in the bulb or the seed. We can actually start blossoming and become that person that we should be. That's a gift. I mean, what an incredible gift to give to yourself and to give to other people in saying, I believe in you. I value you. I want to nurture you because you are worth nurturing. And once you start doing it yourself, then something in the world changes and the doors open for you to be able to do it for other people.
Mm, loved it. Yeah, it's you said it so well. Yeah, thank you, Angela. Um, the the only thing that I could get from adding onto that would be that that sense of the wider gift as well from that onwards is to look out for the other part of the forgiveness is to be looking out for converting things into gifts along the way so that they don't so that pattern doesn't keep getting reinforced or um yeah 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 it's that thing of it not just being about others or self, it's both but that transition to it become a practice for looking out for when these mishaps or stuff that feels like mistakes or things didn't go so well or are upset or challenges that where's the it's the gift of the gift of the circumstance and how that challenge is the gift in waiting. It almost it's a gift in waiting to go, hey, this is another thing that gets to be forgifted along the way so that we stay on form and the anticipation of it is what I've discovered in the last couple of years as well to get to that point where I'm anticipating challenges being gifts and
Yeah.
so automatically looking out for oh that person was late on there that for them that's I could be like oh that causes a lack of trust which if they carried on doing it, I didn't say anything, then I would be causing a rift myself. I'd be actually causing that because they may not be aware or that they're struggling with something that they don't know that they're causing a lack of trust in their life through those processes. But that sense of seeing it as, oh, that's happened. What's the gift there? They're not here now. They're late, or so what's now for? And so what's the use of this moment in time to it's not about waiting and going like that. It's like there's something here to find out about, you know. So yeah, thanks for sharing all of that.
Did it just as you were speaking there as well, I was thinking um it's a challenge really to us all. Quite often you find that if you've gone through pain in your life and been hurt by it, you can think that your calling in life is to help other people who've been hurt in the same way. And, that sounds quite good. I've been hurt by this, I'm going to help other people who've been hurt by that. But I think the challenge is you have to have healed from the thing that hurt you before you can reach out and start helping. Because I've seen people try and solve their own sadness or their own pain by helping other people who've got that pain. But actually, what happens is they end up in a circle of people saying, there, never mind. I understand because I've been there. I know what it's like. But they basically stay in this circle of being in this painful place because they've not actually forgiven or let go of. Um, they've not given themselves a gift. And they're using the pain that they were in the wrong way. It sort of links a little bit, with what you're saying, because I think you've got to recognize that you have to let go of the pain. And like you've just said, I know, for example, that I am someone who will triple book myself. So there might have been somebody on the other end of the Zoom room waiting for me, and I'm not there because I'm somewhere else. So I've tried to develop systems to help me with that. But I've also been in that same place where I'm sitting there thinking, and if just like you say, if I sit there thinking like, oh, for goodness sake, I could have been doing this or I could have been doing that, then it doesn't do me any good. It certainly doesn't do them any good. But thinking to yourself, so, okay, so I've got this half hour here, which I didn't think I had. What can I do with it? How can it become a good half hour for me rather than a half hour that I'm, feeling negative about something? There's lots of and that's just a little thing, isn't it? That could just be, a half hour in the week. But that if you can turn that little thing into something good and positive that you learn from, um, then your relationship with that person actually is going to be better anyway. You're not going to like send them a message that where on earth were you? You know,
Yeah.
you've wasted my time. So
Yeah, thank you. Um, so there's this a roundup reflection on your if you see your gifts in the world now, your unique value, your propositions in life, the strengths, skills that get you the best results in life and work, what would that be, Angela?
do you know what? The biggest change in that whole area was when I realized I needed to listen to my heart, not my head. And so the biggest gift for me is to live by listening to my heart. And um, when I when I've been like when I paid those people who weren't the right people, it was when I understood that they were leading from the head and they were trying to get me to think of my business through my head, through tasks and numbers and strategies. When I tried to fit in with their way of life, it completely crumpled me. It held me in. I couldn't sell. I didn't sell my business to anybody because I was trying to follow a script that they'd given me, which was money driven. So, the ability to switch that bit off and allow myself to move from my heart is what's enabled my business to grow. And it's enabled me to serve the people who I'm supposed to serve. And I think that's probably my biggest, um, yeah, it's definitely the thing that keeps me going.
Brilliant. Amazing. And this idea of a call to action is very marketing speak, but actually when we look at it from a real deeper meaning, when we have a call, when we hear something and we get called to think about it, it stops us or it starts us, and or there's resistance to do it, but we know we want to for some reason, then that's a calling, and it's almost it's like, is it resistance that a fear of growth, or is it a resistance because it's actually not worthwhile right now? It's actually too much, and that's okay. But if there's nothing, then there's nothing. It's like if someone makes a call to action and it doesn't land at all, then that's okay too. But if there is something in what people say, if you're listening and you want and you've got some great ideas, or you've liked what's resonant, give us a comment, a highlight, a share, and send that ripple out to others through your call to action on what you've heard. Even that little bit of what you've heard, repeating it straight away creates more bonds to remember it later. And repeating is what can be difficult sometimes for us, as remembering to remember to repeat. And so, what would you say your call to action is right now, with what if there were people that wanted to know more about what you do, Angela?
I think the first thing would be we actually have a quiz, Rory, that is called Are You Heart Led or Head Led? And it's just a 5 minute quiz that takes you out looking at some questions. And there's each one's got 4 questions. I think it's about six questions or so. It takes about 5 minutes. And it's a really good insight for yourself. And it will give you some clues as to either way, by the way, because one thing I just want to make clear is I am not saying that if you're head led, you're a terrible person. I'm just saying you're completely different. It's just there's different ways of running your business. And if you're head led, the heart led person, we're going to say is just going to drive you to destruction. And similarly, the other way around. So you're going to block yourselves in. So knowing which one you are and then following through on some simple steps that I can support you with will help you take the next step in your journey in whatever you do. So I would definitely say take the quiz, 5 minutes of your time to help you into the next step on your journey.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, that's great because I think there's two things that came up. One was um yeah, well, firstly, that what a fun quiz that sounds. So, your details will be on the dashboard of the whole summit, and if you've liked the interviews, obviously, then there's a registration page to sign up to watch free for all of the collection of all of these amazing topics that have all come from different angles in neurocreative leadership pillars and topics of that, not focusing or working without brilliance, without burnout, energy regulation, um, creative flow mastery, and some great top subtopics with all these talks in. However, the what you shared there as well, in one of the talks, Angela, someone also mentioned about more analytical head-based approaches and how that resonance of actually that can be the good partnerships that we find where someone can do those kind of things in the business and those that do the other side of the business. So if you're more heart-led, and you might need a head-led person on your by your side. So this is where we get into like, creating community and looking for those people. So this is help yourself if you're wanting to find out more. We will have that quiz on the dashboard. Check the community out of all the different amazing experts, and we'll be in touch with more wonderful topics. And thanks for watching. There's a event on Monday evening, which is the wrap up resonance event, which is all the speakers or as many as possible that can join that Monday evening. We're going to have some celebrations of fun games and the speakers will get to know more, the ones that can make it can get to know each other more, and it's going to be fun. The Zoom link for that is also on the dashboard of the summit. So you can come in and join and meet us all as well. So that's it for now. What did you what's one thing that you got from this uh that you can take away with you, Angela?
Well, actually, it's given me a deeper sense of the imagery that I use in thinking of my own clients and thinking of my own business. Because one of the things I love is when anybody asks me questions, the stuff comes into my head, and I may say it in a different way from how I've said it before. And today I went deeper into the colours that mean so much to me. So that was something that's really exciting for me to feel like I've explained myself in another level, in another way. So yeah, that was good.
Loved it, love it. Explaining yourself on another level. And what I got from it was how compassion and creativity can work well together in leadership. So I feel like those key pieces are something that we could do and talk about again in May over a longer time, delving into some tips and tools and things like that as well as like a mini training part as well. If you're up for that, Angela.
Definitely. Yeah, sure.
Amazing. All right. Excellent. So thanks for watching. This has been NeuroCreative Leadership Live Pop-Up Summit 2026. And thanks so much for being here. And all feedback is shaping this for being even more desirable, more rigor, more vigor next time in May. So um, I'm looking forward to lots of ideas, thoughts, and constructive feedback as well about anything as well. So much love.